Please, you're going to abide with us. We're going to kindly request you to get to your seats. Get to a seat and get seated, please. Sir with the blue tag, if you can kindly get seated. Please kindly get seated.
This is the position.
Just so those who know who are going to make a speech, the speech will be made here. Just a quick reminder, we will not allow anybody to get onto the microphone if you're not on the program. I can see it's very close to people. We shall have it right here. We shall have it right here. So please, only those who will make a speech. The chairperson for Private Sector Foundation Uganda, Dr. Eli Karuhanga. His Excellency Attilio Pacifici, EU Ambassador to the Republic of Uganda. Of course. Oh, you're seated. Oh, I can see you, sir. Okay. Also, Honorable Minister Amelia Chambade shall also be making a speech alongside Honorable Matia Kasaijo, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Those are who this microphone belongs to. Just hold this mic for me. I'll call them both at the same time. When His Excellency arrives, we shall all stand to receive him. Then the anthem shall be played, and then we shall go through the program. Thank you for your patience. Is Mrs. Adieri around, please? Ms. Adieri? Mrs. Juliana Adieri, please? Ladies and gentlemen in the tent, if you're still standing, apart from me, you can have a seat. When His Excellency the President arrives, we shall stand. We shall officially stand to welcome him to the venue. I'm going to make sure that my colleague on the sound, the anthems are ready. Can we have the in charge, please, of the sound booth? Thank you. If you can stand to position. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please, if we can all stay where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, shall be at this venue shortly. Can we all rise? Please don't move, just rise where you are. His Excellency shall be with us at this venue shortly. You can wave to His Excellency the President. The President shall stand to attention for the anthems, the Ugandan anthem, the East African anthem, and the EU anthem in that order, please. Your Excellency, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we may take our seats, please, all protocol observed. I would just like Your Excellency, Mr. President, for the Uganda Europe Business Forum, for the delegates who are here, just to wave to you, sir. Can we wave to His Excellency the President and thank him for being here for closing the Uganda Europe Business Forum. We've had interesting deliberations in the last 2 days or so, Mr. President. It has been an opportunity to meet decision makers, honorable ministers, high-level officials, CEOs, both from European and Ugandan companies, and of course now to meet you as well, Your Excellency, as you close. It has been an opportunity also for delegates to grab the low-hanging fruits, opportunities for investment in agriculture, energy, smart cities, natural resources, and for access to finance. It has also been an opportunity for people to build their networks. We've had B2B meetings as well as B2G meetings as well. It has also been an opportunity to find out trade with Europe, what exactly is required. And it's been an opportunity to sell our country as an island of security and economic stability in the East African region. Can we clap for ourselves? We've really achieved quite a bit. At this juncture, I'd like to call upon those who are going to give the first speech. They will give a conjoined speech together. I'm going to call upon, to this microphone that's right in front of me, Dr. Eli Karuhanga, Chairman of Private Sector Foundation, Uganda. Can you have a round of applause as he comes up, please? And also accompanied by His Excellency Attilio Pacifici, of the European Union, Ambassador to the Republic of Uganda. Please. Thank you.
Colleague, yeah, but shortly he will be my colleague because we are signing a pact together, private sector and European Union, and we will be co-chairs of the future of our cooperation with the European Union. So, my colleague, please accept. Okay, sometimes I must say I am also a diplomat because I represent Seychelles as Consul General of Seychelles in Uganda. So my colleague and I are going to be sharing this platform and this microphone. I'm going to ask him to tell you a few things that we have been doing together since we started our meetings yesterday. I will ask my colleague, one of the directors of Private Sector Foundation, to come and also read out the other resolutions that His Excellency Pachifichi might not be able to read. But for now, in the interest of time, just allow me to push in just one sentence. That for the first time, Uganda is no longer a recipient, is no longer a warehouse, is a producer. Thank you for your efforts. We can now say we produce and sell more to Kenya than we have historically ever done. We can say that we can sell milk abroad instead of getting donations from Denmark. We can say we can export eggs to Kenya. We can export sugar to Tanzania. Your Operation Wealth Creation has produced immediate, instant results like our coffee. God bless you, Your Excellency. Thank you for thinking about being with us this afternoon. Thank you for making history, my brother.
Thank you very much. Excellency, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda. All protocol observed, having a new colleague like Honorable Karwanga is a great honor, but I am much more ambitious because I want to become a friend. That is the kind of relationship I would like to have as a friend. So being colleagues is good, but being friends is much better. And that is what we have been doing over the last few months. I'm not sure whether it took 3 years. We are a little bit faster than that, Honorable, my dear friend. But anyway, let's say we have worked hard together. Yes, true. But we have worked very, very well together. And this is the kind of partnership which, in fact, is becoming friendship that we would like to have. We have built something. We haven't done it before, and it's true, I admit it. We were prompted, maybe pushed even, by His Excellency to do that. And yeah, this is good. Yes. This is an excellent vision. We have been a little bit too traditional in our relationships because we have been putting too much emphasis on development cooperation. Last time we were sitting together with all my colleagues, the European Union ambassadors, we were going through the speaking points, and then we said, okay, this is what you should be telling the President. Our development cooperation is, and I said, my friends, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to tell the President of Uganda anymore about this development cooperation. Not that I'm ashamed of it, not at all. It's an extremely important instrument. We want to continue to have it, but we need to go beyond. So we put emphasis on working investments, working together, private sector working together, in European Union investments, supporting the Ugandan private sector to develop profit of the opportunities of the European market. That is why we are here. So I want to thank all those who have been working with us, my co-chair and myself, our respective teams, all those representing government, and I want to spend a special word for the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Trade. Thank you very much for having guided us to the right path. And then I think we have a little homework to do, which is to share and work together as friends and present the findings and the recommendations of this important first ever event in which we've been working together.
But before we do that,
yes, sir.
Don't you think it's a good idea to thank the new crop of European Union ambassadors who have been working with you so closely? Why don't we ask them to stand up?
I think we should be doing that.
Yes, I think so. We have the French ambassador, Ambassador Jules Amada. He is an incredible chap. He's about to bring all the world footballers that we have ever seen coming to visit us Let's just pray for this coronavirus. We have the Italian ambassador. We have, oh, why am I introducing the ambassadors? You are the head prefect.
Yes, but friends can do that.
No, go ahead.
But you have introduced them all. I can see the deputy of the mission of the Italian embassy, the Italian ambassador. I see the ambassadors who are also friends but represent Uganda in European countries. I can see the Ugandan ambassador in charge of the Nordic countries. I can see my dear colleagues representing Austria. Yes, I can see the Miriam Black actually was not in the right sequence because I was going to the Belgian ambassador first and the French ambassador. I can see they're important, very well-known investors, and then Miriam Black. Anyway.
And the German ambassador was here this morning, and the Swedish ambassador was here.
He's hiding somewhere.
But all the embassies are really represented.
I think the objective is, maybe you start with presenting the conclusions.
Okay, let me ask Badru Ntege, one of my directors, and as you come, can I ask the directors of Private Sector Foundation please to stand up? Because these are your humble servants. They lead the private sector, and it is gender sensitive. May I also ask my predecessor, Mr. Patrick Ibtature, wherever you are, please stand up. Fantastic. These are the drivers of the private sector. We are going to tell you what we did yesterday, what we did today, what we are intending to do a little later will be explained by His Excellency. Badru Ntege, he heads our ICT ministry, if you like.
Your Excellency and all protocols observed. Yesterday we spent quite some time with committees and discussions, and we talked about competency-based curriculum needs to be developed and built into what we've already done. We have a new curriculum going on in our schools, and for people like us who are in the employment space, we find it very exciting that it's bringing new change and positive. The future looks positive on that one.
And we thank Mama Janet for
yes, we call her Mama in our department. So we would really like to see that continue, and the teachers are also excited of the curriculum. We talked about the issue of corruption, and we had a pretty interesting presentations and also an open discussion on corruption. Your Excellency, we're aware that the e-procurement coming in to reduce the interface between bidders and officials, so that we remove that interference that brings in the corruption. And Your Excellency, I remember you did mention that at the ICT Innovation event last year. Data integration is happening so that we have interconnection within the NITA, NEMA, Land Registry, etc. Your Excellency, we talked about deepening verification of assets in terms of public officials, which also will eliminate the bad habits that we're trying to get rid of. We'll also discuss the opportunity to look at rewarding good conduct for those people that are actually participating cleanly and well within business and private sector. Your Excellency, when we talking about exporting to Europe, we focus on partnerships between government and the EU in terms of more Ugandan companies to be enabled to comply with EU standards and raise export revenues. And Your Excellency, we know this also impacted some of our exporters of vegetables some years back, and the focus now is make sure that that capacity is built and it's sustained. Your Excellency, the discussion on access to finance was also quite prominent in terms of a need to create for access private venture capital, which enables the collateral, and a lot of discussion was around alternative versions of corruption. Sorry, collateral. I apologize. It's also between the two. Your Excellency, information access by linking business owners and founders to forums and platforms enable to educate a lot of our businesses. We have a lot of indigenous businesses, Your Excellency, which were very good at business, but the governance aspect, which also now makes it difficult for them to access finance and be able to compete favorably when it comes to being able to, when complying, especially on the governance space. Your Excellency, taxation as ever was part of the discussion, and the real issue in terms of understanding what tax incentives are There was a discussion also about equity of tax incentives, in that as we look at the higher side of the investors, we also look at tax incentives for the smaller companies, because they're also, in their small bit, they're investing. Demand for more sector-specific tax incentives in terms of attracting more green economy investment, Your Excellency, was a key thing that we need to look on, and it was very clear from a number of presentations that the green economy is really the way forward in Uganda. I'll hand over to His Excellency.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this. I know the time of His Excellency is limited, but I must say three things before going to my presentation. First of all is to recognize the presence of the Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Bulgaria. And my apologies for not having done it earlier, sir. Then one word, we spoke at length at the beginning yesterday about the very, very strong response from the Ugandan side and the European side to this invitation. The delegates, those representing the European and the Uganda private sector, came in big numbers. Actually, we had more than 2,000 firms and groups expressing interest to come, but we had to reduce these to less than 750 for limitations provided, set by the space available. But this is a good lesson for the future. We will have to find a bigger place, because the need, the interest is huge. We actually underestimated it, Mr. President. So we will take home this important lesson, because this is not going to be one event which will never again happen. We will do it regularly. We will provide financial support to the private sector, Ugandan and European, for the next 5 years. So event of this kind in which we will bring them together and get to the real issues which are limiting and which could actually boost up and improve business and friendships as well, will continue to happen in the future, every year. Of course, all material and all findings and all recommendations will be uploaded in the website we have created. So this will be a wealth of information which will be shared with everybody. And with these few words, I will go to my section of my presentation, which is about green deals. There are so many recommendations which the working groups have identified, but I will only highlight few of them. Concerning the corporate social responsibilities, one important point is 80% of those who have been providing views, ideas, and responses to questions and to a survey, which was launched yesterday, said that the respect of human rights is important for the stability and the growth of their business. They say so. Concerning the climate for smart agriculture, one of the recommendations among the many is that smart agriculture hinges on innovation, technology, and the judicious handholding of an appropriate financing of for small producers. This is with regard to the climate for smart agriculture. Concerning green and connected cities, I would like to mention 2 points. First, the political will to deal with plastics by enforcing the ban on plastics, on those plastics which cannot be recycled, particularly this called Cavera. There is also a point about design of bankable projects that can be implemented under the private and public partnership. There is a new instrument. We will probably talk about it later on, but this is the point which came up also when we discussed about green and connected cities. On ecotourism and natural resources, one of the points was need for a change in the consumer behavior. Environmental protection practices, example, using water decanters instead of plastic bottles, increase of public awareness about what to ask. I mean, these were, again, important points coming up from both sides. Concerning the scaling up of renewable energy investments, innovation opportunities, such as off-grids, mini-grids, pay-as-you-go, solar roofs, productive uses of energy, reduction of waste of energy, all these came up. There is, again, huge experience. There is a lot of interest on this side. On the European Union, there is availability. These are areas where our private sectors could work. An important point, and then which came up very, very often, it is about gas. Gas for households as well as gas for industry. we spoke about the wrong perception that gas is more expensive and more dangerous than charcoal and firewood. And so there is, it's not the case. It's not true, but it's important to raise awareness to people so that they will start using it, and also need to innovate, need for innovation in marketing and on the use of the LPG in Uganda. Perhaps we may need to subsidize a little bit the gas bottles, because that is the big investment. The gas contained in the bottles is actually quite cheap and very competitive with charcoal, but the cylinder itself, at the beginning, I mean, those cylinders can last for 20, 30 years, and the context is the only one you have to buy regularly. But at the beginning, one may find it that a little bit expensive, so maybe we should look into subsidies. Green finances, and then I will pass over to my friend. Green finances for small and medium enterprises. 2 points perhaps. One, the need for a specific window to support access to finance to green businesses. And then tap into the green climate funding by designing bankable projects. These are the key points I wanted to raise and point out, and then I will leave you to Honorable Karwanga.
Thank you. Now I ask Gideon Badagawa, who is the Chief Executive Officer and Director of Private Sector Foundation, who is full-time employee of the organization, to tell you the next things. You can't imagine how much we've been able to accomplish in these few days, almost non-stop. But there was a lot of preparation behind it, in spite of coronavirus, which made my colleague almost grow a heart attack, because we had stopped the French, the Italians, the Germans, the Spanish from coming. And it was a heartbreak for them. So let me ask Gideon, because we are telecast live on television worldwide, my accent might not be understood by Europeans, so I'm asking these ICT guys.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you very much, Your Excellency. I will limit myself to the following two sections. The section on digitalization and innovation, and the section on public-private partnerships. Your Excellency, the discussions also focused on the integration of databases. We recognize that there is a lot of work that is ongoing to try and integrate different data centers so that we can eliminate corruption and promote and support efficiency. Your Excellency, we recognize that 71% of government services offered are now electronically done, especially in the URSB, where we're talking about registration of businesses, the area of URA, where we're talking about e-tax. And I think the consideration was that if we can do this in areas like the land offices, to try and encourage and support e-government, so that all this information data is electronically coordinated and integrated, that would go a long way in supporting investment and private sector growth. The other one was the ICT parks. Your Excellency, there is a lot of prospect in ICT parks and innovation. And we thought that if we can harmonize policies that can help us reveal and support some of the innovations that could go along with this, would be a great consideration for the private sector to prosper. The other one was to increase provision of the advanced mobile money service by the actors like MTN, Airtel, and so on. We think this is really going to reveal the potential that we have, especially in the financial market and deepening the financial markets. Your Excellency, financial literacy is a great opportunity for investment in this country, especially to help the private sector understand the challenges that there are, especially with the banks go through, but also the demand side. How do we prepare ourselves to be able to access money? Because earlier on, you had, Your Excellency, that there is this consideration of constrained access to credit and the cost of business finance. How do we prepare the private sector, especially the SMEs, to be able to access this kind of facility? Then the area of PPP, the private-public partnerships. Your Excellency, we thought that we should accelerate large investment projects and balance the costs and risks both between the government and the private sector. Then there was also a consideration on the regulatory framework, and these need to be considered. Your Excellency, we have a big challenge, and we have spoken to the Speaker, the Parliament. One of the challenges the private sector in this country has is that business regulation, the business legislation through Parliament, the average that it takes is 3 years. Business legislation. Today we're talking about the coffee bill. Coffee is one of the major exports to Europe, to the Far East, and so on. But the issues of standards come in the domain. We cannot be able to manage standards if we do not have a law that is enforceable. And so one of the challenges that we still have is the coffee bill going through Parliament and many others. Many other bills that we can speak to. The consideration is that you come in and help us on this so that we can be able to attract more investments. We're now talking about working with the European Union. But they will not be able to come if we do not have laws that are enforceable, especially on standards. Europe is very stringent on standards, especially on exports. So until we have these laws that are enforceable, it will be very difficult to encourage the private sector.
We were also informed that one coffee tree in Uganda produces 2.5 kilograms, but in Brazil it produces
12 kilograms.
15 kilograms,
15
one tree.
kilograms.
And so the size of land we have in coffee, if it was producing 7 times each tree, then our coffee size would be totally different, and the Europeans would drink coffee until they don't understand anything else.
Your Excellency, the other discussion was on the green cities. We know that government has made a consideration to have these cities, but I think the challenge is to speak to the green economy vis-a-vis the cities that we're trying to put across. And I think that is going to be very important for investors that are coming in. We talked about transport and energy as well. Energy was a very big discussion. Of course, we appreciate Your Excellency. We have done a lot as a country in terms of generation of power. But we now must use this power, and that's why we are attracting these investments to come here, so that the cost can be able to come down. And we do appreciate Your Excellency that we now are talking about 5 US cents, especially for large manufacturers that are working off-peak hours. So we really want to appreciate that, Your Excellency. Thank you very much.
And seriously, Your Excellency, now you can see that a Musoga can speak English without any accent. It's much better than a Munyankole. Thank you, Muna. Next.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. One of the promises we made last time we met was that we would give you figures, that we would try to explain how the European investments contribute to the industrialization and development in Uganda. The idea is that the Europeans, they talk a lot, but they don't walk very much. So my objective is to show you that we can actually walk the talk. So what we have done a survey, and I'm not saying that this survey captured all the companies, the European companies based in Uganda, but many responded. Anyway, we have selected 107 investors because they provided the most comprehensive responses, which we could elaborate statistically and extract relevant information. So these 107 firms have actually invested 472 million euro, which is nearly $600 million. That is what they have on the ground right now as investment. This is only 107 out of probably 300, but then we have to dig more on this. But these 107 themselves have invested 472 million out of a total invested as of 2017, which is 1.5 billion euro. So this represents 1/3 of the European Union investments in Uganda. 1.5 billion euro being the total, 472 million euro being the amount these 107 firms have invested. In terms of jobs, They have created directly by direct employment and indirectly by using services, suppliers, transporters, and so on and so on. So they have created 32,524 jobs. And this is just the beginning of it. They have invested in several areas. We have identified three, we have extracted three, just to capture agro-processing, manufacturing, and services. 15 of those 107 are in agro-processing. They employ 7,200 and so on employees, and they have invested nearly 270 million euro. Those in manufacturing are 18. Out of 107, 18 are manufacturing items. And they employ 3,500 people. They have invested 130 million euro. Finally, those in services, hotels, lodges, freight forwarding companies, all these kind of. They are 74 out of those 107, and they employ 22,000 people, directly and indirectly, for a total investment of nearly 306 million. Then we also asked them how much they were planning to invest over the next 5 years, and these, the cumulative amount, these 107 firms have indicated to us is that they are planning to invest 646 million euro in the next 5 years only, alone. That is, $750 million approximately. They also told us, we asked them what would they need in order to make this business a little bit more efficient, faster. So we asked them to tell us about the enablers. And they have identified skills and attitude, three clusters of things they need: skill and attitudes, access to finance, and then they also identify issues concerning governance and corruption. That is what our private sectors, with investments here, told us.
By attitude, I think we also meant mindset. The Ugandan mindset is scared about money. So we would like to convince them that money doesn't eat anybody. So we want to spend money in changing the mindset of Ugandans to start thinking like entrepreneurs.
Thank you, my friend. There is maybe the other point we should present, that this engagement has led us to identify what we call the platform for sustainable business for Uganda platform, something which, a mechanism which will allow to continue this dialogue and this work over the next years. And in this platform, there are people working at the technical level. There is a secretariat who will be financing the work of this secretariat, but then there is a board, and that is where I think we have to spend two words.
Yes.
If you allow me,
Please,
I will say that on the European Union side, well, there is my humble myself as a permanent chair, that I will be there. Then as rotating chairs, there is, for this year, for the first year, the ambassador of Belgium, the ambassador of France.
Please stand up.
And that is on the institutional side. Then on the private sector, maybe we should
But also
allow
on the
you
government
to.
side, we are going to get the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives. And then on the private sector from the Private Sector Foundation, I am very pleased to introduce, in absentia, Madame Barbara Murwana. She will be on the board. She's not able to be present. I'd like to introduce my brother, Patrick Kiptature. He will be on the board. I'd like to introduce my son, Amos Wekesa. And today he's wearing his best, Sunday best. Yes.
He's not wearing
But
camouflage.
he's crazy with tourism. Yes.
You would
this
like
is
to
can I
introduce the Europeans as well?
No, I think the Europeans, you are going to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I can try to
Especially
do
for pronunciation of names.
that. No, it's very easy, but I will only use the first names.
Okay.
First of all, I will Dan, who is Danish, and he is in the coffee sector. So he has accepted to be in the board. Then I have Ines, who is the president of the Dutch private sector investors here in Uganda. And then I have Bernard. Bernard, thank you very much. He's Irish, and he's in very complicated, very difficult. I'm a caveman, Mr. President, so I don't fully understand what he does, but I'm told he works on ICTs, very difficult things. Satellites, you can imagine. So I think this is the board.
This is the Irish are still in